While most Americans were scrolling through their phones, distracted by the latest social media trends, a quiet revolution was unfolding in the heart of Texas. One that might just redefine who truly controls America's future energy independence. In a sprawling 2,500-acre industrial complex outside Austin, Tesla's Gigafactory has been churning out electric vehicles at breakneck speed, producing over 400,000 vehicles by April 2025. Elon Musk promised this facility would liberate America from foreign energy dependence, creating a domestic supply chain that would rival China's manufacturing dominance. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. The more Tesla's Texas operations grow, the more critical battery materials actually flow back to China. This isn't some conspiracy theory or corporate cover-up. It's the uncomfortable reality of global supply chains that even the world's most innovative companies can't escape. While Tesla celebrates each production milestone at Gigafactory, Texas, recently hitting 410,000 vehicles produced in just the second quarter of 2025, a parallel story emerges that challenges everything we thought we knew about American energy independence. The data reveals a paradoxical relationship where Tesla's attempts to build domestic manufacturing capacity have inadvertently strengthened the very supply chain dependencies they sought to eliminate. To understand how we got here, we need to examine China's stranglehold on the global battery supply chain. It's not just that China controls a significant portion of battery manufacturing. They dominate virtually every stage of the process with an efficiency that borders on monopolistic. China processes over 90% of the world's graphite, controls more than 80% of global lithium chemical production despite holding less than 17% of lithium reserves, and accounts for 78% of cathode production. By 2024, Chinese companies held a staggering 76% of global lithium-ion battery manufacturing capacity, up from 57% just 3 years earlier. This isn't market competition. It's market domination achieved through decades of strategic investment and government support. The numbers become even more striking when you realize that China accomplishes this dominance while holding relatively modest natural resources. Australia actually mines more lithium than China, yet virtually all of Australia's lithium exports flow directly to Chinese processing facilities. Congo produces most of the world's cobalt, but Chinese companies own 80% of that production. Chile has massive lithium reserves, but Chinese firms have secured significant investments throughout Argentina's lithium triangle, which contains 50% of global lithium resources. China has essentially positioned itself as the indispensable middleman in the global battery supply chain, controlling not just the processing but the entire flow of materials from mine to manufacturing. For Tesla's Texas operations, this creates a web of dependencies that even vertical integration cannot easily break. Despite operating what Tesla calls the first large-scale lithium refinery in North America, the company still relies on Chinese suppliers for critical components. Since the second half of 2023, Tesla has been importing cathode coils from Chinese manufacturers including Ningbo Ranbei New Energy and Suzhou Dongshan Precision Manufacturing for its proprietary 4680 battery production in Texas. These cathode materials represent approximately 35% of total battery cell costs, making them among the most expensive and critical components in the entire production process. The irony runs deeper when you consider the reverse flows of materials. As Tesla's Texas operations scale up production, they generate substantial manufacturing scrap and waste materials, what the industry calls black mass. This granular material contains concentrated amounts of valuable metals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel that can be recovered and reused. But here's where the story takes another unexpected turn. Much of this black mass from American manufacturing operations flows back to China for processing because that's where the specialized recycling infrastructure exists. China possesses over 650,000 tons of black mass processing capacity compared to Europe's planned 20,000 tons by 2025. A 32-fold capacity advantage. In August 2025, China even lifted its import ban on high-quality black mass, effectively creating a pathway for premium battery waste materials from around the world to flow into Chinese processing facilities. The economics are compelling for companies like Tesla. Chinese refiners can offer payables of 78.5% for battery recycling materials, approximately 3.5% higher than competitors in other countries. The implications for American energy independence are profound. Tesla's Texas lithium refinery, despite representing a billion-dollar investment in domestic processing capability, still depends on Chinese supply chains for specialized equipment, chemical inputs, and technical expertise. The facility processes spodumene concentrate from Australia and Quebec, but even these materials often require specialized equipment manufactured in China. Industry experts warn that achieving full-scale production with new processes typically reveals unforeseen technical challenges during the first year of operations, making Chinese technical support potentially indispensable. This dependency persists despite escalating trade tensions between the United States and China. In April 2025, China implemented retaliatory tariffs of up to 125% on U.S. automotive imports, following American tariffs of 145% on Chinese goods. These measures forced Tesla to halt new orders for U.S. imported vehicles in China, while potentially increasing costs for Chinese components imported to American facilities. China has also implemented strategic export controls on critical battery technologies, introducing licensing requirements in July 2025 for exporting 8 key technologies related to lithium-ion battery manufacturing, including cathode materials and lithium processing technologies. The Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act attempted to address these dependencies by requiring domestic content thresholds for EV tax credits. Beginning in 2025, the act prohibits any Chinese processed critical minerals from qualifying for tax credits, creating pressure on manufacturers to find alternative suppliers. However, the limited availability of non-Chinese processing capacity means that many materials continue flowing through Chinese facilities, regardless of regulatory preferences. It's a classic case of policy running headfirst into economic reality. Tesla's experience illustrates broader challenges facing American attempts to build energy independence through domestic manufacturing. The company's Texas operations, while reducing some supply chain vulnerabilities, have also created new dependencies and material flows that reinforce China's central role in the global battery supply chain. Even Tesla's impressive production numbers, over 2 million vehicles expected for 2025, cannot change the fundamental reality that specialized battery material processing requires infrastructure, expertise, and scale that China has spent decades building. The circular economy implications are particularly striking. While Tesla promotes its recycling capabilities as contributing to sustainable manufacturing, the reality involves materials crossing international borders multiple times during their life cycle. Lithium mined in Australia, processed in China, manufactured into batteries in Texas, and then recycled back in China creates a complex global materials flow that undermines simple narratives about supply chain localization. Each step in this process represents both an economic opportunity and a strategic vulnerability. Industry projections suggest this paradox will intensify rather than resolve in the coming years. By 2030, Tesla's combined Texas facilities are expected to generate sufficient manufacturing scrap and end-of-life materials to supply multiple recycling processing centers. However, the limited development of non-Chinese processing capacity means that much of this material will likely continue flowing back to China. Recent discoveries of lithium reserves in China, which have elevated the country from 6th to 2nd in global lithium reserves, only strengthen China's position in the supply chain. For Americans, the implications extend well beyond Tesla to the broader electric vehicle industry and national security considerations. The United States has invested hundreds of billions of dollars in electric vehicle manufacturing through programs like the Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. These investments have created thousands of jobs and positioned American companies to compete in the growing EV market. However, the persistent dependencies on Chinese processing capabilities mean that America's energy independence remains largely theoretical. The situation reveals a fundamental tension between economic efficiency and strategic autonomy. Chinese companies have achieved their dominant position through decades of strategic investment, government support, and relentless focus on building integrated supply chains. They offer lower costs, proven expertise, and established infrastructure that American companies find difficult to replicate quickly. Even when American companies like Tesla invest billions in domestic facilities, They often discover that achieving true independence requires not just capital, but time, expertise, and scale that cannot be easily acquired. The question facing America isn't whether Tesla's Texas operations represent progress toward energy independence. They clearly do. The question is whether this progress is sufficient to address the strategic vulnerabilities that come with depending on a single country for critical materials processing. Tesla's experience suggests that even the most innovative and well-funded American companies struggle to break free from Chinese supply chain dependencies. The more successful Tesla becomes at domestic manufacturing, the more apparent these dependencies become. So here's the real question that every American should be asking. Is this the kind of energy independence we can actually count on? When our most advanced domestic manufacturing facilities still depend on materials flowing back to the same country we're trying to reduce dependence on, are we building genuine security or just creating more sophisticated vulnerabilities? The answer may determine not just the future of American electric vehicle manufacturing, but America's position in the global clean energy economy. What do you think? Are we moving toward true energy independence, or are we just creating new forms of dependence wrapped in the rhetoric of domestic manufacturing?